Well, hello, everybody. How are you doing? It is Connor. We are back with another video. How are you doing this morning? I'm just here to take the temperature. I'm here to see how you guys are doing this morning. Last night was a movie. There's a lot of people who were a little bit aggravated. There was a lot of people who were happy with what's gone on in terms of where Leeds United are right now. And I just wanted to gauge the temperature, say hello, all that sort of good stuff. Thank you so much as well for the amount of support we got yesterday, everybody. I think we had about 36,000 views real time in sort of a 8-hour, 9-hour period. So thank you so much for that. It was a lot of grind and a lot of effort. We then went and did a watch along on the second channel. We're doing a watch along again on the second channel tonight with Jim Bob. So if you want to head over there, everybody, me and Jimmy are going to be doing the Burnley Oxford game. So come and join us over there for hopefully another draw for the Clarets. But what is going on in your world? What's going on? How are you feeling this morning? We're going to get into a few bits this morning as well. But before we start the video, make sure you slap a like on the video, as always. And yeah, we're back here in the building. It's good to see some of the regular faces in here as well. Tanya says there's nothing to review. Facts. Phil says, I can just smack the like for you, mate. And I would like a player in. Let's win the league. Yeah, man. I mean, I put a little poll in the chat. Interested to get your guys' vibe and the view at the minute. I just put in the chat, mate. In fact, I'll leave it up. We've had about 200 votes in there now. You guys head over to the poll in the chat. Will Leeds United still get in the top two? A lot of people saying there's nothing to review, etc., which is true. Liam, profanity. Watch long decent last night. Failed again. We are now one injury from not getting promotion again. The 49ers biggest con artist than Trump. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Only downside yesterday was a Sunderland late winner. Yeah, they look good. They look really, really good. But keep getting your thoughts in, everybody, as well. We welcome all opinions, and we're going to get into the bits of it, really, and exactly what's going on with Leeds and where we're at going into this window. So, okay, so we didn't massively touch on it last night, like to an extent. I mean, me and Oscar spoke on it. It's a really good stream that me and Oscar did, if I do say so myself. But we had a little bit of a discussion about Mateo Joseph, and look, obviously a supposed bid came in last night, and let's just share what happened, everybody, if you are living under a rock. And let's just have a quick look on what that one was. But yeah, basically, Mateo Joseph apparently was subjected to a bit of a bid last night, which was interesting. I'll share it on the screen now. So Mateo, yeah, apparently rejected. Leeds apparently rejected a bid, as you can say here. Leeds reject White's bid. Okay, so this was probably the major news last night. Leeds turned down a 10 million bid for Real Betis, from Real Betis for striker Joseph over the weekend. The 21-year-old is deemed too important to let go, even after they were going to Cameron Archer. So I guess it's interesting, this one, because obviously me and Oscar didn't get much chance really to go in on it, because obviously we were talking about multiple things. But I guess the conversation here is, was this real? Now, the reason we were speaking about a lot of it last night is because I think Joseph is worth way more than 10 million quid. I think right now what we are seeing with Mateo Joseph is a boy in his first season. I think with Joe Gelhardt, I think with Sam Greenwood, there was a lot more license from this fan base for those guys to fail. To then get to that next level in terms of success. I think Mateo was being very harshly judged by a lot of our fan base. I think there's been a massive portion of my community in particular who's rallied behind him, which has been nice to see. But I think there has been a lot of harsh criticism of him. But that is a £10 million bid, of which I would not be accepting for Mateo Joseph anyway. But it is interesting for me, did this happen? Now, we're expecting maybe a seasonal podcast on the square ball, and maybe Angus Kinnear to come out and say, yes, this happened 100%. And we're all probably going to be there like, did it though? Because I think we're all very much of the opinion that if Joseph was to go anywhere, it'd be to go back to Spain. He's mentioned it before that he wants to play there in his career once again. And yeah, the links are pretty obvious there. The publication that were reporting it, Oscar linked me it, and then Brownie linked me, and I'd never noticed them before. You know, it wasn't Marseille, it wasn't anything like that. I'd never heard of these people before. And with the greatest of respect, I think they had a combined following of around about 15,000. So for me, there's two separate things here. Mateo is a £10 million player, 100%. He's only 21 years of age. First season, I don't think he's had the right environment around him this season, but it's his first season, and he's still really a kid in this game when it comes to development. I think he's going to go on to a very, very high level. But there's two things here. There's that, and look, we know his valuation, or some people know his valuation anyway. I would say it's in excess of that. But there's another thing here. Leeds apparently went in for Cameron Archer. And then suddenly, when that didn't happen, Leeds United have rejected a £10 million bid for Real Betis. So, yeah, look, it doesn't really add up to me. We know what PR. Well, hopefully, I know what people. I mean, it's BBC News in it. They can feed you absolutely anything. And if you're the sort of adoring public, or you sat there and just watching something, you kind of believe it, don't you? It's the natural human sort of human sort of way, isn't it? You see a big publication on the television, and if you watch it, they'll tell you X, Y, and Z's happening. I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, everybody, but I'm just not always the one who just believes everything they read. We've seen the PR machine at Leeds do this before. I feel that this may have been a load of rubbish yesterday on the back of what happened with Cameron Archer. Some good press being put out of there, and especially at one of the top businesses in the world in terms of a football club, and Leeds United, a huge football club. I think this is pretty obvious, to be honest with you. Listen, was there a £10 million bid from Betis right at the end? Maybe. Do I believe that? No, I don't believe that. But look, I understand why people might believe that. I completely understand that. Morning Connor says, Dan James, I am, mate. Everyone, we have a near fully fit squad within that squad. We have a lot of injury-prone players. If those players stay fit, we'll be okay and finish top 2. Afternoon, Connor. Congratulations on your missus for getting a new job. Cheers, man. It was a long day. Yeah, and Michael, I kind of am on that. I'm on that verge, to be honest with you. But I think the good thing is, Joseph has stuck around. I think the positive thing is what we did, everyone, was we kept hold of a lot of our players, right? There was a lot of our players. We've got a lot of lucrative players in there. There was talk of William Yonto earlier on in the window. There was talk of Pascal Strauch at Tottenham. And best believe if we don't go up, there are going to be movements there. But we're able to keep hold of all our players as well. And I think the big thing here is we don't always need those shiny new toys. Now, listen, let's be brutally honest here. And you guys have been part of this channel for a long time. I'm not gonna BS you here. Let me just get off that. I'm not gonna BS you here and say, oh yeah, no, Connor didn't want this, Connor didn't want that. Connor wanted a goalkeeper. Look, I wanted that. I've mentioned that 1,000,001 times. But do I think Carl Darlow is fine? And we're speaking earlier on in the window about how well he did at Hull in very recent history and how well he's doing for Wales at this moment in time, albeit it being a different pressure. Do I think Carl Darlow coming in and would be fine for Leeds? I don't think he'd be extraordinary. I don't think he's going to light the world up. But do I think he's going to be better than Illan Mele? Yeah. And do I think that he would have saved us more points than Illan Mele? Yeah. Do I think he would have made as many unforced errors as Illan Mele? No. So you bring someone like that in, and that's a huge part of your starting 11, of which there is a huge deficiency, an outlier, an anomaly. That's sorted. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit calm with it. I look at the rest of the division's additions. I look at the rest of our squad, and I think to myself, the recruitment that we made in the summer, I'm going to get onto why I think that's levels above a lot of other teams in this division, and why Leeds United is a completely different prospect to every other team in this division. I think the player targets that we should have gone for, I think, is a goalkeeper. But if they're not to do that, the manager is evidently happy with Illan Mele in there. I'm convinced of that. There's been a rhetoric there before of which he's happy with him. The goalkeeper and staff rate him down there. So he is willing to persist with him. So, yeah, I mean, the Carl Darlow conversation there is, well, yeah, he's obviously there, isn't he? But would Leeds then go out and get a Carl Rushworth, who was one of my picks, as you guys know, at the start of the window? So I'm not going to come into this and just be like, oh, Connor didn't want any signings. Like, yeah, I'd have liked a signing. But the secondary option is Carl Darlow just going in, and Lee's been fine at the back. Lee's been fine at the back. You've got Rodon there, who knows him really well. Ampadu, if he's filling in at centre-back, or even if he is in CDM, plays with Carl Darlow at international level. They've got that Welsh bond. Dan James is in the squad as well. I know a lot of people might think that's a ridiculous thing to say, but that is a genuine bond and partnership and relationship that these Welsh lads will have built up. And I've said this multiple times. They'll have a WhatsApp group. We've all been in football WhatsApp groups at whatever level. We all know when there's a player in the squad who's not good enough, and you do have a little bit of a bitch and a moan about that player. The Welsh lads being as close as they are will 100% have spoken about Darlow being in as opposed to Illan Mele. I am convinced of it. So yeah, and Farke has that option there, but he's willing to stick with the goalkeeper. So I've kind of just come to the rationale right now. Like, I'll back the manager. Do you know what I mean? I back the manager throughout, really. There's criticisms there, 100%. But you back the manager. If he wants to keep Ilan Mele in net, then he's a coach, he's a manager, he's done it, you know, at a decent level. You've just got to back him. I don't agree with him, but you're just gonna have to back him. And if Ilan Mele makes more howlers, am I going to criticize Ilan Mele? Yes, because this is what the channel's all about. It's therapy amongst anything else. But yeah, we should have done business in that point, you know, for me. And, you know, there's a lot of chat about Emi Buendia. Look, that's a game changer. That is a signing of which you look at and you think, wow, that's I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's a Leeds signing. We're not talking about, with the greatest of respect, like a Finn Azaz. We're talking about Emi Buendia, who could transition into the Premier League. Maybe we could sign him on an obligation, and you're looking at an absolute player at the Premier League if you can get a right tune out of him. Emi Buendia's just gone to Bayer Leverkusen. Okay. And there was Valencia interest as well. So this is what we're talking about right now. This is what we're talking about. But I am quite a fan of Leeds just pitching that as maybe a target, you know, that sort of level up. So yeah, we'll get into it in just a little bit, guys. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. But we're just going to try break apart a few bits in terms of the transfers, in terms of where Leeds are at. And yeah, I want your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Connor, if we get 4 injuries to 4 key players, we're screwed, as in every club in the world. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, man. I look at Sheffield United, and I am not fearful of what they brought in at all in this window. I'm really not. And I kind of look at the long-termness of this Leeds United side, and if they are to go into the Premier League, I want to be signing a bracket up. Leeds United are the biggest club in this division. We are the biggest attraction in this division. We have a Red Bull sponsorship, which is of 60+ million quid at championship level. We had the 6th highest shirt sales in the Premier League when we first went up. We have an ownership who set aside, according to reports, over 200 million for ground development. We have facilities that have been put into place when the 49ers have been here. We've bought the ground back. I think when people are talking about the ownership and saying how crap they are, I disagree. I think we've now got a structure, we've got a framework, we've got an actual line of command, which under Marcelo Bielsa was Marcelo Bielsa. The line of command was Marcelo Bielsa, and it was an absolute shit show from what you understand from behind the scenes. So like right now, it feels like a bit of a professional setup. Now, look, am I gonna gloss out of their arse consistently? Absolutely not. There's been some mistakes in there. You know, you look even yesterday, in my opinion, a bit of a PR stunt in Joseph. I don't think Joseph was going to Betis at any point for 10 million quid, but Leeds may have failed on a striker pursual. And then they turn around and say, oh, Joseph, 10 million quid. Well, so this is what I mean. I try to be balanced with it. But when you look at the overall picture, you look at the signings, which is the big thing. You look at the off-the-field impact as well from the 49ers. It's been good. It's been good in a short ownership tenure, you know? So, yeah, I'm very, very, and I'm just taking an overall point of what you're saying there, Roy, as well. I think there's rotation in pretty much every single position right now, and I'm satisfied with that. And if I'm just going to go over to the poll right now, we have nearly 400 votes in, and there is 80% of you who believe Leeds are going to finish in the top 2. So maybe some of you who are in that 80% as well are still dissatisfied. I would question you, and I would say, why are you still thinking Leeds go up then? And I would hope that for yourself, that is maybe a crumb of comfort, because maybe you're able to rationalize it in your own head. Oh, actually, hold on. Yeah, we've not done that much business, but the business that we have done, the lucrative players that we've been able to keep hold of, and even in this window, keeping hold of certain personnel means that once again, we are the strongest. But like, bearing in mind, I was going on 2 weeks ago and having to defend Leeds United over Willian Gnonto leaving and Pascal Strout leaving. I had to go onto a radio station and say, look, if this happens, this wouldn't be great. I don't think it would be a good start to the transfer window. I was going on rival channels and they were saying, oh, Strout and Gnonto are going to leave. Leeds are in the mud, blah, blah, blah. We'd had a couple of, I think at that point, we just drawn to Blackburn or whatever it was. So at that point, you were thinking, flipping out, this could be a long window. This could be a long window. We've come through choppy waters. We've had a decent run. We've just won 7-0. We've gone top of the division with 5 points clear. We've got the best goal difference we've ever had at this stage of the season. It's very difficult for me as a, you know, I always get this tag as a cynic, as a pessimist, as a negative Nancy. If I was a negative Nancy, I'd just be coming there and saying, oh, it's crap, it's rubbish. No, well, we're not going to get promoted now, blah, blah. But I'm trying to be balanced. I understand that they've not done everything perfect. I get that. But right now, how I'm trying to compartmentalize it in my head is the squad, what they're doing off the field as well, is building us for a Premier League structure. Marcelo Bielsa covered everything when we went up last time. He covered everything in the Premier League. Not only that, but the team last time we went up was nowhere near as good as this. Nowhere near as good as this. Ben White, Dallas, Click, Alioski, as much as it's Sentiment FC, and we all look at these players and think, oh my God, they were great. We all love them. There's nowhere near that team quality wise. Look, we can talk about that team our team now playing under Marcelo Bielsa, but let's not be revisionists here. This team right now, quality wise, walks all over that side. And as I've said, if Bielsa's in charge of both of them, that team that we've got now walks all over that team. Because I know people will say, well, Bielsa's a better manager than Farke, whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. Wayne says, last day of the summer window, we had Bobbins come out of a swap deal involving Harmer and Peru. It's becoming part of the football world now. Yeah, and do you know what, though? I think he's probably one of them that you'd look at and think, yeah, what a player at this level, and he could probably fit in somewhere, couldn't he? Nice says, Kinnear should be nowhere near the club, just talks BS. I remember his atrocious program notes. Karen says, hope is not bringing anyone in, doesn't come to bite us on the bum. I think that's it, though, Karen. I think last year, if we're being brutally honest, did we really encroach on the top two for a sustained period of time? We didn't, did we? Let's be honest. Ipswich just sometimes falter. Southampton went on a bit of a 25-game unbeaten run, I believe it was. But Leeds were in there partially, but we were out. Right now, we're very, very much within that top two. And with the dominant team, if you're looking at what other people are saying about us and how dangerous Leeds are, I think at points last season, people were like, oh, yeah, Leeds will go up. But I think it was very individualistic. I think the build-up from the back was driven by a deep-rooted Rutter who would come all the way back and drag Leeds up the pitch and then play the ball to Crescencio Somerville. I think we were based very much on those two. I think there is now a plethora of quality. We're getting goals from midfield. The fullback options are better and they're stacked to a point of which one of our new signings in the summer isn't getting in the squad. So yeah, I just think across the board, it's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent one. Jared said our bench is a playoff team in this league, and that is true. And that's the rationale I think that we need to look at really here. Liam says, what does history tell you? It tells you that when others strengthen around us, they will go up and we don't. Injuries will happen. We will drop points to the likes of QPR. Failure will happen again. Liam, I think you've been listening to Jimmy's channel too much, mate. That's okay. Yeah, one of the things that I was saying yesterday is if we'd have signed Ramazani yesterday, it'd have been the signing of the window. If we'd have signed Tanaka yesterday, it'd have been signing of the window. If we'd have signed Solomon yesterday, it'd have been the signing of the window. And that's kind of how, once again, I'm using that C word to compartmentalize what went on yesterday. And I think it's a fearful tactic for other teams looking at what Leeds have done yesterday and through the window, keeping hold of the players, keeping hold of the nucleus. Sheffield United have now got a barrage of players. Burnley have got to fit in Marcus Edwards in terms of those wing options with Manuel Benson coming back as well. I ain't swapping Benson or Marcus Edwards for Ramazani. Nowhere. So I'm kind of looking at it still with Leeds United having the best players in this division. And I'm still looking at the fact that we've got 16 games left. And we've got a fair portion of those at home as well, which I think is going to help Leeds if you're looking at the record of which Leeds have had. Injuries will happen, Liam. But we haven't got as severe injury list as what Sheffield United have got. And injuries do reoccur, as you've mentioned. So if injuries do reoccur, and Sheffield United have had a fair few bodies out this season, Tom Davis, Blaster if he's coming back, Vinny Souza, Tyrese Campbell, there is a bigger likelihood that they're going to break down again. And I know we have the likes of Pascal Struijk. I understand that. We have the likes of Max Verber. Could there have been an option for Leeds to do more in the left centre-back region? I think so, yeah, 100%. I get where people are coming from. I personally am just not going to make a wicked decision based on what ifs. And I know you have to do that as like project management, as risk management. I know you have to prepare for the eventuality. But I'm also preparing for the Premier League. And I think if Leeds United, I mentioned this at the beginning of the window when I was speaking about Callum Doyle at Norwich City. Callum Doyle's a very young lad on loan from Man City. He's maybe one who I would have looked at and gone, do you know what? I think he'll be able to acclimatise to the Premier League. I think this will happen in due time for Callum Doyle. I ain't going out and signing the likes of Rob Holding. You know, I'm just not doing it. I ain't going out and signing that player. When Leeds recruit in this window, it's got to be for the long term. And this is why it was a harder window for us as well. Amongst a lot of, if you're bringing someone in, you're saying to them, you're sitting on the bench. Because what if Pascal Strout maintains his fitness? What if the players maintain the fitness towards the end of the season right now? There will be an odd result in there. There'll be a QPR in there where we might lose. We might lose tomorrow night. Does that mean we're not going up? Well, ratio-wise, there's 81% of you still think we're going up, including myself. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to take it. It's a good signing. They improve a lot of what Burnley and Sheffield United need. But Sheffield United and Burnley, for me, still need a hell of a lot more to get to Leeds' squad caliber. And I don't think we've consistently got into first gear yet. For me. Anyway. Paul says, Calgary calling Connor yet another missed opportunity, and I think it will cost us promotion, frankly. Disappointed, but not surprised. We need luck now with injuries. Bad management comes to mind. George says, why do we think Rothwell and Solomon are out on loan? Not good enough for the Premier League. More pain and Jesus Christ. Tanaka, Strout, Rodon, Ampadu, Bogle, Nonso, Ramazani, James are lower Premier League level. Ready, don't you think? I'd take all of them above any other player in this division, mate. Maybe, and this is the thing, if we're going up, right? Let's say if we do go up and we don't kibosh it, Leeds United need to aim a little bit higher. And I respect everybody's opinions in here, by the way. I respect it. Look, a lot of people are just not happy, and that's fine. I think it's because other teams have done signings, and I think it's maybe because we're hearing murmurs of Cameron Archer. I've had to think about it. I wouldn't have been that happy with Cameron Archer. And I think you guys sort of detected that with me yesterday anyway. Armstrong, has he ever done it in the Prem? Really? Not really. Okay, spent longer there than Archer, but has he done it in the Premier League? What is the aim? What's the expectation? I understand it's to stay up. Villa's expectation was to stay up. Forest's expectation was to stay up. Do we want to be like those two clubs? Do we want to improve? Do we want to get to a level where we're mid-table? That's where I want to be. So if we're to go up and sign below par substandard footballers, you will get a substandard below par result. You are going to get relegated. So Cameron Archer and Adam Armstrong, whilst sounds glossy at this level, are we scoring enough goals? Are the strikers having horrendous seasons? No, they're not. It's Joseph's first season. Peru's the second top scorer in the division. Are the players in behind the striker having problems? No. Is the rotation that bad? Well, no. For me, I think Joseph gets consistent minutes, worst case scenario, if Peru's out for a couple of games. Peru has played 74 out of 76 games for Leeds United. He's never injured. Brendan Aronson's injury record is completely null and void. It's not there. So, yes, the eventuality of X, Y, and Z may happen, but we've got to work on likelihoods as well. The likelihood is this doesn't happen. And the worst case scenario, the manager can go to a different formation. And he can utilize different players in different ways for me. But if we do go up, the weight, the prestige, the expectation, the standard, and the name Leeds United, I want to be getting better signings than Ipswich. I want to be getting better signings than Southampton. That's fine. People call me arrogant. I'll get Jimmy saying to me I'm arrogant. Well, it's just facts. You know what I mean? It's just facts. Arsenal are a bigger club than West Ham. Leeds are the biggest club in this division. Highest shirt sales, lucrative sponsorships of which we'll get and we'll go up. We've got to start utilizing Leeds United as a name. We used to do it. We used to do it back in the day. And in the last 20 years, unfortunately, we've not been doing that. But I think maybe the expectation, those standards have drastically reduced. And that's why on this channel, I'll get called negative, cynical, pessimistic all the time. It's because I try to keep those standards. And my community tries to keep those standards up there. We don't lower them. We keep them up there because the name of Leeds United has to be up there. One of the top 8 club in this country. Easy. Fact. So when we get back up there and the expansion happens with the stadium, Leeds are hopefully going on to a different trajectory. So this is what I'm talking about with player recruitment right now. Leeds have got to be really smart when they bring players in right now, because we're not going for basement bargain signings here. If Leeds go and get signings, they've got to be good signings for the Premier League, adaptable signings for the Premier League, reliable signings for the Premier League. You know, and hopefully you can emulate what Villa and Forest have done in the 3-4 years they've been in the Premier League, instead of doing what we did last time, where you kind of look at some of the signings and you think, and you look at the recruitment and you think, it needs to be better. It needs to be of a higher level, and Leeds need to start using that prestige again. We need to start becoming Leeds United again. This isn't a preach, but it's almost a preach. Even, you know, when you're looking at, someone said to me last night, would you have sold Mateo Joseph to get in Cameron Archer? Absolutely not. In a month of Sundays, Joseph's first season, we've seen within the right environment, with the right players in and around him, perception, movement in the box is excellent. Does he need to refine some part of his games? Of course he does. That will happen in time. It's his first season. I keep saying this. Gelhardt and Greenwood were offered so much more time and patience by certain members of the fan base than what Joseph's getting. I don't understand why that is. Joseph will get there. And I'm the cynic. I'm telling you, Joseph will get there. There is a player in there. And I'm really hoping he cracks on now. But the difference is right now, you know, in the summer, when you look at our recruitment, and let's get into the recruitment right now, guys, before we get into your comments. The recruitment for Leeds United, for me, is sort of like different standard to what maybe others at this level have expected. You brought Joe Rodon in for 10 million quid from Tottenham Hotspur. You brought Largi Ramazani in for 8 million quid, who scored twice against Real Madrid the season before. You've nabbed one of your promotion. They've just come down. They've got all the parachute payments, and you've nabbed your promotion rivals' top 3 player. You've got this kid who's an absolute metronome. This guy, we know, is a technical football player, yet to really hit the top level. You've then gone and got this guy on 60 grand a week. You've managed to integrate these two back in. You brought this guy in on a free transfer on some decent wages, and you've had an absolute masterstroke with this one as well. So it's very difficult when you look at this. Very, very difficult. You know, you see the outgoings there and all that sort of stuff. But I'm finding it exceedingly difficult to just turn around and say, you know, they're shite, they're chances, they're this, that, and the other. When you see that, you know, Leeds have progressed a hell of a lot since, you know, in comparison to where we were last season. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. Keep getting your comments in the section below. I know there's going to be disagreement. I completely understand that. But I think the recruitment we've made, and you look at those players there, you look at Rodon, Ramazani, Jayden Bogle, Tanaka, Schmidt. It's literally, I mean, what we're talking there, 18, 23, you know, 28. It's like under 30 million quid. Then you got the loan signing as well. This is what I'm saying. You look at someone like Manor Solomon. What club at this level, and this is what I'm talking about with the whole Chancer thing, what club backs the manager with the manager signing? He wanted him. He's had 3 major surgeries. The 49ers go out and get him. By the way, we were in competition with Ajax that whole weekend, which is why that transfer was stalled, by the way. Leeds went up to 60 grand a week. That's what he's on, Manor Solomon. 60 grand a week. Which I'd argue has to be the highest paid player at this level right now. Has to be. So we're competing with teams who have come down immediately with first parachute payments. We're in the second installment of this. And we still have the most lucrative squad. We still have the best players. I see that as a good job, to be honest. Mark says, I think we'll see a different Ramazani. I believe he saved more for the winter warmer months where he had tired players last year. Would have liked a little bit more, Connor. Kenneth says, Ramazani and Nonto can't get into our squad. Our midfield depth is absurd. Most game Mez has nothing to do. Our fullbacks options are great. I'm relaxed. That's where I'm at, Kev. Mick Gascoigne says something has to massively go wrong for us not to go up. Sunderland signed Lafay. Burnley signed Edwards. We literally had Solomon since the summer. That's it. And like, That's what I keep saying. I was having a chat with a couple of pals who were season ticket holders at Leeds, and we're just having a chat about it. And he's a prop. He was actually after we'd spoken last night on here, and we're just having a chat about it. And it's like, if you'd have brought Ramazani and if you'd have brought Solomon in, just those two alone, there'd have been the signing of the summer winter window. But because we haven't brought them in the winter window, everyone's now bothered. But if the 49ers had have just literally stalled on one of those signings, brought them in the January window, then it'd have been like, whoa, actually, it's been a good window, But we've already got them because the summer recruitment's been so decent. Ricky says, I personally think Sunderland will finish above Burnley. I think it's between Sheffield United and Sunderland for the top two. Happens every year. Fans implode and lose their shit because of the team strength, and we're terrible for it. Our team is strong enough, and I think we can only get better. Mitch, I mean, look, let's say, let's say, let's say we look at my, if you go back to the summer months, got to the back end of the window and I was getting a little bit tetchy. We'd not brought Ramazani in. We'd not brought Tanaka in. And I was getting a bit tetchy. And if you cast your minds back, I was saying to the 49ers, I was saying on stream, I was like, you've got to get someone in, lads. You've got to get bodies in. So I'm calling them out. So on this channel, we work on both sides. I'm not coming from a narrative or an agenda basis here. I was calling them out. You can literally go back to the summer months. Calm at the beginning, but then it got to the end with like 3 days left, and we're looking at it and thinking, lads, we've got to make some more signings in. The pressure was on. We did that, and there've been excellent signings. Schmidt came in really late as well, didn't he? But really, really good signings. There was just a bit of a delay period, but we've called them out on this channel. We've called them out. But you cannot, in my opinion, dispute the fact that they've done a good job. Cover there 100%, but I still think the majority of the fans wanted cover. The majority of the fans wanted additional bodies in. But if you ask those same fans if you think Leeds are going up, they'll say yes. So that's where I don't really get it. Because if they're going up, the 49ers have done a decent job in assembling a squad and keeping a squad together, which I don't think that latter has been focused on enough. Strout not going, Nonto not going in particular, of which it was heavily rumoured, especially from Strout. If your owners are so amazing and you're so financially abundant as you say, why didn't you sign any players in this window? Well, I've just explained it. Probably the last 33 minutes. John. M says, I agree, Connor. We're scoring really a ridiculous goal difference. I'm glad we didn't waste money on Archer and Armstrong. We will sign Fire. That is, Emmett. Perfect comment. Perfect comment for me. That's exactly where I'm at. Archer, Armstrong, huge risks. And we've kind of got one right now who we're a little bit unsure on, in my opinion. There might be a 50-50 split here, I'm not sure. But in terms of Peru, I'm not sure his athleticism, his physicality adapt to the Premier League. And it kind of like, you'll have seen me a little bit yesterday, guys. I was a bit despondent that they were going for Archer. Like, I was thinking, okay, fine. But it's a short-term option because there's no proof Archer works at Premier League level. He's been at 2 dead clubs, but I've mentioned this yesterday as well. There's been no interest in him from the higher level of which we want to attain. We want to get to. We want to get to the Forest level. We want to get to that Villa level. I'm not going up. I understand it's 17th. I completely get that. We've mentioned on this channel before, we're going to get licked. We're going to get battered next year. That will happen. But if we go up, we finish 17th, and then we start to really move up the league instead of just being like 17th, 17th, 19th, and you go down or whatever, or 17th, 19th, and then that's it. It's all about recruitment. It's all about hitting that upper echelon of player, that mid-bracket. And I think with Leeds United, the name that we are, the club size, which I don't give a shit what any Championship fan says. They all hate us because they ain't us. That's facts. Every single team hates Leeds, and they don't know why. It's because we're the biggest team in this division. The biggest team in this division by a country mile. Okay? No other team at this level attracts the sponsorship of Red Bull for a 60 million plus sponsorship at Championship level. They don't do it. Other teams that have 200 million put aside for when you get to the Premier League and you increase your capacity of stadium to 50 plus. No other team has that. No other team. So Leeds go up And hopefully we do what Villa did. You know, that's got to be the long-term projection. We don't want to be fighting relegation. I understand it's going to be a bit of a short-term thing where we are going to be battling with that, but that long-term projection, the framework and the structure is there right now, which we didn't have before. We didn't have that framework in place to get to those that dizzy height, you know, of even mid-table. We didn't have the framework in place because it was Bielsa or bust, as we figured out when he left. There was absolutely nothing left. Now there's a framework, there's a structure. You know, let's bear in mind how much praise everybody was giving Nick Hammond in the summer months. Everybody was giving Nick Hammond, what an unbelievable masterstroke. He sorted us out for the season, assembled the right squad, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. Blade here, thought Archer would do well in your side, create a ton of chances, and he thrashed. Yeah, done all right. He did all right, but this is the thing. If he's come into the Premier League, he's getting bombed out. Like he's bombed out. Like it's 6 goals in the Premier League. It's not assurance. It's not assurance. I'd rather have Joseph any day of the week. There's improvement there, and there could potentially be a Premier League player there. If the Betis stories are true, Real Betis are looking at Mateo Joseph, who's barely played, trying to go for him for 10 million quid, and he scored 3 goals, and loads of the fan base saying how crap he is. So other teams must be seeing something if that is true. But we all know in the summer there were multiple clubs lining up for his signature. So, yeah. It took us over a year. It took us over half a season to click into top gear. Sheffield United put their 2 shiny tops straight into their team and got stuffed 3-0. 49ers only wanted a loan for Archer. They know that he's not good enough for the next level. Nakata says, we've made real progress with the squad we have. Trust Farke. We should not buy for the sake of buying, but rather to improve our squad for the Premier success, quality over quantity. That's exactly right. And once again, we'll get the arrogant strip. We'll find call us arrogant. That's absolutely fine. I've just got to this point now where I don't give a shit. We are what we are. And as a club, the recruitment that Leeds United should be making should be Premier League level. The acclimatization, the adaptability should be Premier League level. I look at our rivals, some of the signings, and I'm thinking, not sure they're Premier League level. Like, you know, I had to sort of defend it at the start of the window, but you look at his goal tally and you'll think something different. But I ain't taking Tom Cannon over Mateo Joseph. Just no way in a month Sundays I'm doing it. I think Joseph can hit a real level. That's what I personally believe. It's subjectivity, but I think he can hit a real level. First season, I think surrounded by better players. We saw what happened with him in pre-season when he was surrounded by better players and we know we're talking about there, against very good opposition, who, by the way, a lot of them are playing the full strength 11, especially the one at the end, by the way, where he scored that brilliant goal. Yeah, throughout the season, it's not been ideal, but I don't think there's been consistency there. Hopefully you get the right players around him, you get the right quality around him, and then his quality will increase. There's absolutely no way I'm taking Cameron Archer or Tom Cannon above Mateo Joseph. Just no way. Just consistency is needed. Belief is needed, and we'll wait and see. He will come good. He will come good. We want better than Pro for the Premier League. We need strength, and let's hope the club spends over 100 million strengthening the squad. And once again, Jeremy, even if you want to do Pro and you want to keep Joseph around, or you want to loan Joseph out and get another striker, there's so many options for you there to go and do. But when you get into the Premier League, you then go do a striker. There might be more options. If we're relying, being in the Premier League, on Armstrong and Archer, if they're the main signings, if we got an obligation in because they wanted an obligation for Armstrong, and Borough wouldn't even take that up. I know they couldn't afford it, but still, if we're relying in a 4-2-3-1 system on Archer and Peru to keep us up, or Armstrong and Peru to keep us up, it's just short-term thinking. There is no longevity in that thought process whatsoever. You know? Keep getting your thoughts in, everybody. There's quite a few of you here. If we don't go up, though, this window will be to. If we don't go up this window, how you doing, Brandon, as well? Will be to blame. All it takes a few injuries, and we are. Brandon, what happens if Sheffield United get a few injuries as well? Because all I keep seeing is it's Leeds getting the injuries. I think our injury record has actually been better than our counterparts this season. So what happens again if Sheffield United or Burnley get a couple of injuries? What if Brownhill is out for 3 months? What if Vinny Souza is out? Vinny Souza is out for 3 months. Who comes in? Tom Davis. It's just all ifs. It's all hypothetical scenarios, and it's scaremongering, isn't it? It's all if, buts, and maybes. Because right now, baby, we've got the best squad in the division, and we just won 7-0. Joseph won't be here next season in the Premier. He might not be. He might not be next season in the Premier League, but he might go out on loan and he might come back a better player. And he might acclimatise to the Premier League. Have you thought of that? Do you really think the 49ers will heavily invest in the squad and stadium in the first year of promotion? I can't see it myself. Well, I think when you look at the Levi Stadium and you look at the next level sort of recruitment they put into that very, very earlier on in their tenure and what there's been mutings of when it comes to Ellen Road. Someone was telling me at the weekend, a very, very good source, was telling me at the weekend that they've been looking at it now for 18 months. Even in the background with Radvazani. They are very, very keen on it. And I'm sure a lot of Americans in the chat as well will attest to how swiftly the 49ers will move and how efficiently they will move. They will know that they can get a way more lucrative side of the deal at Leeds United by increasing the capacity and selling that out week in, week out of the Premier League. Some might be to tourists. We all know that that's life. Might be 10,000 tickets to tourists. That it is what it is. We're part of the Premier League club now, if we do get there. But Leeds United are one of the biggest clubs in this country. Other channels will hate that. Of course they'll hate it. There's a reason they're here, isn't it? It's Leeds United. So, yeah, we need to start acting like that big club. And I think the thing is we've got big owners now. We've got big boys at the top of the division. Before we had a little man in Radvazani, a little man and a bit of money, and his cronies underneath him, who did an okay job. They brought in Bielsa. There's a bit of respect that needs to be had there. But there was no structure there. There was no framework. It was a flop. And it was a miracle, really. We stayed up as long as we did. So, yeah, Leeds United Troll says, what if is undefeated? I know. We need to do the old what if for every other club. It seems to just be us. And they've built a great squad on the cheap. They won't get away with that next season if we go up. They must spend an upgrade. So is that a bad job then? Ellenbach, is that a bad job? So if you build a great squad on the cheap, is that poor recruitment or excellent recruitment? And if they go up, then they've got a massive pot in the summer to do what they want. Do you know what I mean, mate? Would you rather than build a great squad and spend loads of money? Is that what you'd rather do? Would that look better? Yeah, it is. Decades have been a Leeds fan, mate. Of course it is. But what I would say is is it not a different era right now? Are we under the same bracket as before, the same branch as before? You know, are we under Orta and Radvazani and Kinnear? It's just like a 3 holding for the entire club. Is that how it is now? It's not, is it? There's a structure in place right now. Leeds have got a spine at long last. Sheffield United have been ravaged by injuries and have accrued the same amount of points as us. Okay. And what? 2 teams go up. We're 5 points clear of Burnley. We've absolutely battered Sheffield United at the start of the season, and we're going to play them again. And hopefully we do the same again. Bear in mind, Chris Wilder has said that any team finishes above Leeds will win the league, and we're the best team in the league no matter what. We get that might be mind games or whatever, but we've had that a few times this season. Yeah, look at them still. But I appreciate your opinion, Mikey. I appreciate your opinion, mate. But I feel like it is just you want me to come on here and tell you exactly what you want to hear, which is they're frauds. Get them out the club. They've failed this window, and I understand that might be the opinion of 50% of the chat right now. Joseph's not good enough. We should have got Cameron Archer in, and that's that. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe any of that. So yeah, I'm not trying to force my opinion on you, mate. And I know we're going a little bit back and forth here. I understand that. And I understand there's people in the chat. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts on it right now. But this whole what ifism is ridiculous because the what ifism isn't being attributed at all to any of the other clubs who don't have as much quality in depth. They might have depth now, but do they have as much quality in depth as Leeds United? The manager, with what he has right now, can go to a 4-4-2. At the weekend, when Peru went in the number 10, he looked excellent. I'm not saying Peru in the number 10 is going to be consistently excellent, but the pockets of space he was picking up was very good with Joseph in front of him. We've not seen that a lot this season. That could be utilised in a 4-2-3-1. That could be a 4-4-2. We've not seen a 4-4-2 more consistently, as consistent as some of us would have liked to have seen in certain games. Okay, if you want to even fluctuate that even more, you can go to a 4-2-3-1, as we've seen before. Away games, we can go to a 4-3-3. Now Gruev's back. Gilavoggi's in the side. You can put Tanaka, Rothwell, and Ampadu in the midfield. Strout's back the next game. Will Verba now miraculously be back in selection? I've got a sneaky feeling he might be, which is going to be a good advantage for Leeds United. He has the options to really maneuver around with this Leeds side now. I don't think there's been probably a better balanced squad, or we're in maybe definitely top 3 balanced squads, not just individual quality, but balanced squads in the history of the Championship. And I think a lot of neutrals will tell you the same thing. So Sheffield United might beat us. That doesn't mean we're not going up. Doesn't mean we're not going to get top 2. Michael says other clubs have bought when they come back down if they go up. 49ers will want to stay up and build for the future. Look at them, 100%, mate. I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm not, like, with the greatest of respect, a lot of the other signings. I like I like Marcus Edwards. I've mentioned that several times. But I don't know where he'd fit in this Leeds side. I'm probably still taking Nonto and Ramzani over him in terms of technical ability. And I'm definitely taking Dan James in form and Solomon over him right now in terms of form as well. So I'm trying to look at the players that have taken this window who our rivals have brought in. And I'm like, Rob Holding, Hamza Chowdhury, Tom Cannon, Ben Brereton Diaz. And these players improve Sheffield United, but they don't improve us. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. And I know you're an American, mate. Shout out to you. I know you've been on the channel before as well. Yeah, I think the Americans are all sort of sometimes a little bit dumbfounded by this whole thing if they've just come in and they're just chances. And I mean, I know Gabe is, for example, and they're just gonna, they're not going to invest in Leeds and that's it. And I just think it's all based on what we've seen previously. How can you compare this to previously? How? We're not talking about a similar thing right now. Last season was a tumultuous period for us. We all know that, and it was an acclimatization of it was rough waters, wasn't it? Last season, a lot of rough waters. This season, we're in a much better place for me. Forgive me, Connor, but I thought Ramazani looked ruthless against us. How come he doesn't start much? From an outsider, I'd have him as better than Dan James. Yeah, Mike, and that's the thing, buddy. Like, I think thank you for your comment as well. Obviously, I think you're a blade. That's how good the squad is, mate. James is firing at the minute. He's absolutely flying. You can't take Dan James out really right now. Ramazani, I think, is the best player at the club. Him and Tanaka, and Ramazani can't get in. And once again, this is when you bring players like Tanaka in, you bring players like Ramazani in, you've got the likes of, someone who I wasn't that convinced on at the beginning, but you've got Solomon in on 60 grand a week. 60 grand a week in the Championship is absolutely mental and blew Ajax out the water. Ajax at Championship level. So, yeah, look, this is what we're working with, mate, in terms of rotation. So this squad is more than good enough. And I kind of maybe have a little bit of an inclination why some may say that we needed more and more and more and more bodies, throw mud at a wall and see what sticks. But the manager's got enough mud right now. He's got more than enough mud to get us out of this pit. If we sort our away form out, we'll be champions, 100%. Sheffield says something catastrophic has to happen for Leeds not to finish top. This is what I mean. I mean, a lot of the opposition fans, like, look, Jimmy's one of my good friends on here. Jimmy's one of my good pals, and they take the mick, but they all know. They're all very well aware of how good this Leeds side is. So, yeah. If Sunderland beat Leeds, as the top two gone for Leeds? I don't think so, Jim. I don't think so. Did you watch us play Sheffield? Michael Fisher? It wasn't close, mate. Wilder said such. So look, Cole says, "What do you think of our transfer policy? Will look like if we go up?" Yeah, it's a good question, Cole. I think the transfer policy. Me and KG have spoken about this, and needs to be way more aggressive than that. Way more, and this is why it's such a short-term mindset. Look, we'd have all gone, oh, Archer, Armstrong, ooh, great. But there'll have been an obligation for both of those signings. You want to go into the Premier League. I'm not saying you here, by the way, Cole, but you want to go into the Premier League with Peru on a decent contract. So someone would have to come in and take him off our hands if we want another striker there, especially if you're loaning Joseph out and just getting rid of him. So you're going into the Premier League with Armstrong as your starting 9 or Archer. Don't mind them in the Championship. Don't mind them whatsoever. But will we still go up regardless? I think so. That's why there's no panic from me. I think we'll still go up regardless. This is what I mean. This is what I find a bit mental. I think the people who are still criticising what's happened in the window would say we're still going up. And I understand the trepidation. I get that. But I genuinely think if you put a gun to the head and said, do you think we'll go up then? Yeah, I know with this squad. I know we've not done what you want, but do you think we'll still go up? They'll say, yeah. And it's like, well, so what we're talking about here? What we that, and maybe you don't, but I think a lot of people, once again, I was in the WhatsApp group last night. And I said it to one of my mates. Said, look, you're not happy with it, but do you think we'll go up? And he went, yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, okay. So what's the problem then here? So in answer to your question, mate, I'm hoping it's a little bit more aggressive. I understand that there can be championship bodies brought in. The problem is right now, Cole, is the championship is shite. Who in the championship, mind my French, do you go in and buy for Leeds United in the Premier League? Who do you go in and buy who is going to acclimatise and be with Leeds United? Hopefully, if the 49ers have got these ambitions and Leeds are able to actually sell themselves as a football club. Bearing in mind some of the players we brought when we were in the Premier League, by the way, some of the players that we did buy in the Premier League, of which were ridiculous levels, of which is probably the best player in the world right now, who was attracted to Leeds United because of the name Leeds United. Do you go in and just do you go in and go for the championship route? I don't think so. I think you've got a mix, but the problem is the championship's not great right now. You look at some of the top performers. You're bringing in Finn Azaz. Finn Azaz might score 2 goals against us in 3 or 4 months' time. That doesn't mean I take Finn Azaz in the Premier League, and he's probably the standout option right now for the rest. I like Dennis Serkin, massively like him. Sunderland, I've mentioned Joe Bellingham before. Could be a good little sign in there. Maybe Michael Cooper, the Sheffield United keeper, but there aren't many standouts. There has been championship seasons that have gone by where there have been standout players, standout after standout, quality after quality after quality. Look at the Crystal Palace rap sheet of players that they brought in from the championship and they've been able to acclimatise. I don't think there's many of them this season. I really don't think there's many of them this season. I think they've just got Eze, haven't they? But Eze, Elise and co, players of that ilk, acclimatized into the Premier League. There's not many of those in the Championship this year. There's really not. So I think Leeds have got to go aggressive on the continent. Love you too, Baz. Love you too, mate. Rio, by the way, I agree with that. And guys, I agree with that. Completely agree with what Rio's saying. 100%. Steve says, but don't you think it's better to invest in the future, additional player, rather than gamble for the future? Fingers crossed. It depends, Steve. If we're banking on, let's say hypothetically, what we're talking about yesterday, and there is obligations for both, of which that is what Southampton were pressing for yesterday. If there's obligations for both, you then have an obligation, if you do go up, to buy these players. So if you're top of the division, why would you do that? And we've scored 60 goals. Once again, 60 goals. What I will say, Steve, is if you're eradicating the huge problem, the New York bagel, the polo mint, the French hologram, you sort that out. But the manager can sort that out right now. We all forgot about the goalkeeper, didn't we, when it was Striker? When it was Striker talk yesterday and the day before and the day before that. I got told I was focusing on the wrong thing. Why am I obsessed with Melier? That's what I was getting told in the chat. The guy who's threw us away 7 or 8 points this season and who, with the greatest of respect, has kept the other championship teams in the midst of it right now. So in the squad, he can bring in an all right goalkeeper who last time out in the championship got player of the year, can stick in between the sticks, can do that. And he's all right, fine, not going to make mistakes like Illan Mele. So he's got that within the squad right now. So I wasn't singing from the rooftops, shouting from the rooftops and saying, go and get a goalkeeper. But if he's not convinced on Carl Darlow, I thought to myself, well, at least he's not going to be convinced on Illan Mele and he'll drop him and we'll go get another goalkeeper. But he's convinced on him. Unless what Leeds United are trying to do is play him. And then we get to the summer months and his stock's high. But that's where I'll agree with you, Steve, because you don't play him and risk it. But you've got enough within your squad to take him out. This guy should have been bombed out the squad after Sunderland. There's moments last season where I'd have bombed him straight out as well. Right? But you bomb him out, Sunderland. The fact he's not been bombed out after Hull was an embarrassment when the whole country was taking the mickey out of him prior to the international break. And he's straight back in after Harrogate. Right? So he's done okay since there, but we know what's coming around the corner, Steve. So to mitigate against that, I agree with you. But the manager's got something within this squad where he can just put an average goalkeeper in, it'll be fine. All we don't need right now is a bomb scare. Don't have a bomb scare, we're all right. Disappointed we didn't go in for Nico Gonzalez, 50 million. Do you remember we were in for Nico Gonzalez in the Prem? The very definition of an inverted winger is a winger, cuts inside to the middle of the pitch, which is where a traditional 10 plays. Therefore, Solomon, Nonto, and Ramazani can play there. Baz says, if we'd bought Arch last summer, great signing. That's short-term thinking. If we go up, squad as well. Mate, 100%, Baz. 100%. That's where I'm at, mate. It's where I'm at. Like, Peru conversations about when we get to the Premier League. Not sure he's athletic enough and quick enough, really, to deal with a Premier League, which, in my opinion, right now is the best Premier League it's ever been. I think the level of coach, the level of player is outstanding right now. And in 2025, it's the best, in my opinion, it's ever been across the board. Full internationals across pretty much every single side. So, yeah, you Archer short term, but then hopefully you'd be looking at a team coming down when you go up to the Premier League and then selling him on. And I think, to be honest, that's what they're going to be looking at with Peru. And I think if a certain bid comes in, if a team comes down, hypothetically, I don't know, I don't think this would happen, but, Leicester come down, right? Or Southampton come down because they were in for him, weren't they? Clearly not keen on Archer. Armstrong's maybe pastures or somewhere else. They wanted Peru, didn't they? And we got Peru ahead of them. Okay, under Russell Martin. They might have a long-term shortlist and think, we'll bring him in. We'll bring him in again. And we might have to sell him for 10, 15 million quid again. I think Leeds would definitely entertain that, guys. 100%. And I think that is the level up way of thinking. That is a level up way of thinking, because then you're thinking, right, we've got a little bit of money in the pot and we'll figure out what to do with Joseph, but we need to keep him on the books. In my opinion, you've got to keep him there because he can make that step up at some point in his career. Learn off maybe the best, get a better quality of player in the round where he's gonna be fluid and he's gonna flourish, the 2 Fs, and create a little bit of a better environment for him there, and bring a top striker in from in and around Europe. And there are many out there, guys, many out there. Captain says, not sure what the 49ers post-season strategies are. Guarantee Joseph is in their plans, especially not selling him. Yeah, I mean, he's highly rated, isn't he? He's highly rated. I think we all know that. Exactly, Wayne. Couldn't agree more. Afternoon, Nat. I hope you're well, mate. Connor, go back and watch that goal. Meslet, yeah, mate, 100%. Was singing it from the rooftops back then. There seems to be this like notion with Illan Mele that when he first came in, obviously he was spraying balls around, but he was like unbelievable from that point onwards, like 12 to 18 months. He wasn't. He was not. As I say, 5 years, LUFC data, not long ago, goals prevention, -40. minus 40. And he's still in the minus zone this year, by the way. And he ended last season on minus 4.5. But the manager said he was the best keeper in the division, which statistically was just wrong. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. People want a new goalkeeper, but the 49ers can't go over the manager's head if he really rates Elan Mele, and his goalkeeping staff rate Elan Mele. And if Elan Mele makes howler after howler after howler after howler after howler, or even this season where he's made just like 2 or 3, and the manager keeps him in. We've not got no goalkeepers to replace him. We've not got no sufficient depth as well in the goalkeeper region, really. You've got an experienced player who they wanted to replace Joel Robles when he left when we got relegated from the Premier League. You replace experience for experience. Someone who's been at Forest, someone who's been at Newcastle, someone who's been at Hull City, recently player of the season, someone who can come in and do a job. We've seen that already. It's not a miracle worker, but he can come in and do a job. But he sticks with Elan Mele. That's Daniel Farke. That's not even Elan Mele's fault. That's Daniel Farke not taking him out. So that might burn a few people, but unfortunately, Elan Mele doesn't pick himself. The 49ers don't pick Elan Mele. Daniel Farke picks Elan Mele. But I agree, keep the ball away from him. Hopefully he'll be all right. Surely a GK and striker will be number one priority. When, yeah, 100%, mate. Keeper's got to be number one. Keeper's got to be number one. Foreign players for sure, and relegated Leaf coming back. We've got a great scouting network and probably one of the best. Yeah, man, hopefully. Hopefully. Well, this has been a little bit better anyway, stream-wise. I think we'll shop abroad with the pull of the Prem. We'll attract quality players with Prem money. Yeah, 100%. Guys, I just want us to think of like the standards of this football club have been in the mud for how big we are. I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. We're top 8 clubs in this country. Okay. We go up, the shirt sales are through the roof for one reason and one reason only. We've got a Red Bull sponsorship of which no other team at championship level will be able to attract. We've got 200 million quid plus set aside for a football stadium. They ain't going up to muck around. It just isn't happening. Why all this time to go up and penny pinch? It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. So yeah, look, I think what they were looking, and to just explain this, I think I've had a few messages, whether or not it's right or not. And it's not actually from the Leeds side, but I think Leeds wanted the option, which gives me a lot of encouragement, not an obligation, which is what Southampton were pushing for. So yeah, an option to get Leeds up if that's what they desperately want in a Cameron Archer. I wouldn't have like turned my nose up to that. But yeah, I don't want that guy long term. I don't want him long term. Nah, not proving it. It's a lower thinking mentality. It's a bottom 3 relegation thinking mentality going for Archer and Armstrong and wanting that in the Premier League. It's not a Villa. It's not a Forest. It's not that long term projection for me. So, yeah, and we've already got Peru, who I think in that summer month we're going to have to look at moving on. We don't want Archer and Armstrong within that bracket as well. Brandon says, would you steal any champ player if it went up? Probably Sirkin. Probably Sirkin. Could we even go higher goalkeeper-wise, guys? Could we even go higher goalkeeper? That's something I can. I mentioned Johansson last night. I think Johansson would acclimatise to the Premier League. But could we go even higher? Goalkeeper-wise, could we get a proper boy in off the continent? A proper goalkeeper, you know? This is it, isn't it? It's just in mentality. Cheers, Lou. Reece says, would have been ideal if we got rid of Bamford, start of the season, big wage and 2 injury prone. Joseph is pretty much a Bamford in what he offers. I disagree, Reece, but yeah, I mean, front post movement, Bamford's not as good as Joseph at that. His perception and movement in the box, Bamford's not as good as that. Joseph's sharper. I think he's got a better left foot than what Bamford has. He's just a little bit rash. It's his first season, but you cannot really. And even I'm kind of doing it, but you can't really compare the two. They're completely different at completely different stages in their career. At least one's available and the other's not. But yeah, shout out to you, Reece. Need to set our standards higher. Dean says, not being funny, but anybody going into the Prem confident that staying up is dreaming. The gap's massive and gets bigger every year. I agree, you lot are the best squad in the Championship, but it's well short of the Prem. Dean, I know when you're going to hate hearing this, but we've got to go and act like a big club. We've got to go and act like the big club that we are. And I know it's going to be difficult, but I think signings like Tanaka, Ramazani, Solomon at this level are big boy signings. Where I'd be honest, mate, for us, and you guys might pip us to the post. You might do. I still think we'll get promoted. but I'd be disappointed in a Tom Cannon signing as a long-term addition. And I think that's a fair thing to say. I don't know if you guys have got Ben Brereton Diaz with an obligation to sign. I'm not happy with that in the Premier League either. They're for me, they're basement signings of which are going to get you relegated because the standard's so high up there now. And if Tom Cannon was that good, it'd have worked at Leicester, wouldn't it? So I just think you keep your change right now. You see what happens in the summer. You see what movements there are. Bearing in mind, this club in very recent history has attracted right now the best football player in the world. He wasn't then, but my God, he was an absolute star. And we attracted him from a top 4 side in France. So you go up and you utilize that scouting network of which the 49ers have. I'm hoping for bigger things. And with how big a club we are in this division, people don't like hearing it, but it is. It's bullshit. It is what it is. We need to start acting like a big club in that top division. And it's going to be hard for us, 100%. I think you've got to sign some assurances, but you've also got to sign some stars at that level. And I think if you sign some stars and you get it right, you'll stay up. For me. Yeah, exactly, Chopper. You know, got to be poaching from mid-table and upper Prem teams. Otherwise, we're just Ipswich. And that's it. Even like, you know, Solomon. There's and as I said multiple times, I've not been mad on him. I've not been like mad on Solomon, but he's been excellent in the past 3 or 4 months. But I would rather Ramazani start wide left. I just would. It's my preference. But I think Solomon's been amazing. That's the depth we have right now. You know, you've got a better forward depth really than Everton, and probably Wolves. Take Cunha out at this level going forward. So yeah, the recruitment can't have been that bad. Can't have been that bad, can it? Lorenzo says the problem is we are 1 red card away from disaster. Who's that, mate? Who's the red card? I worry because a lot of our players last time came because of Bielsa rather than Leeds. Yeah, but Yorkshiremen, I don't know if that was necessarily true. But now they're going to come because of Leeds instead of Bielsa. Which would you rather? Recently by some other fans clubs, we brought in Solomon, Tanaka, Bogle, Ramazani, Rothwell, Gilavoggi, Schmidt, and effectively this is the thing as well. We effectively bought Gilavoggi in the free market. So technically, it's not been a complete absent winter period, has it, guys? Gilavoggi was bought as a free agent nigh on in winter anyway. And we were buzzing. Do you remember how buzzing we are when we brought him in? Buzzing. No, the club really dipped into that free agent market. We need a bit of depth there. They were proactive. And I called it. I called Joshua Gilavoggi. But 34-year-old, you know, recently at Wolfsburg, had a massive period there. I think he went to Mainz as well, didn't he? It was another club in and around. But and we brought him very recently, Gilavoggi. Gilavoggi's not been here long. So you bring him in as depth, as sustenance, as experience, as a leader. And by all accounts, he's unbelievable in the changing room. That is being proactive. Because at that point, we were just going to wait for Grove to come back. Yeah, he's going to be back. They didn't do that. Afternoon, Connor, at the home of common sense. Good lad. Cheers, mate. Great bands, defensively solid. Sad to say, but Burnley have out of the 4 would have the best chance of staying up. I disagree. Once again, improve our goalkeeper. Where are we at? Can't believe I've caught alive. Yes, Brad. West Brom signed Adam Armstrong. Why didn't we go in for him? I think you've answered your own question there, mate. I think you've answered your own question there, Russ. Last game of the season, away at Plymouth. We need to get promoted. Strauch injured. Peru subbed off. Would you prefer relying on Bamford in score a penalty to win or Melee? Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Imagine if I was doing a watch along, Wayne. Oh my God. Statistically, Bamford, isn't it? Because Bamford scored penalties in his career. Melee doesn't save penalties. So, yeah, mate, Melee doesn't score penalties. He doesn't score penalties, but he doesn't save penalties. So, yeah, probably Bamford. Nakata says, I agree, more Rafinha-type pedigree, but we can only do it once we're in the Premier with a solid system that embraces the kind of talent that'll be a formidable force. Leeds will do it, trust and patience. Yeah, man, 100%. I completely agree, Nakata. The last match was a statement message from all regarding the transfer window, in my opinion, marching on together from Mexico. Shout out to you, John. Some crazy fantasy takes on here. Relax, everyone. Everything is going to be fine. Yeah, guys, so listen, look, hopefully tomorrow it'll be a win. If it's not a win, it is what it is, and we go again, don't we? Will I criticize the performance if it's not a win? Yes, but it doesn't mean overall I'm not sort of excited about this ownership and happy about where we are right now. Should we have had more players in? There's definitely an argument for it, and I can see it. Goalkeeper in the primary one for me. I think if we would have got a goalkeeper, I'd have been absolutely fine. But he clearly doesn't like Darlow over Melee. So, and I think that would have been long-term thinking. I think you can get a goalkeeper right now that acclimatizes for the Premier League. However, there is a conversation that, maybe waiting will help. Leeds will be able to get better stock value for Melee, and then we can go in for a top keeper at the top level. Who knows? But I'm going to leave it there, everybody. It has been a spicy last couple of days, of which I need to take a bit of a rest. I'm knackered. I was going along to like 1 last night, but I am going to be back tonight with Jimmy, discussing everything Leeds United and Sheffield United and Burnley. We are going to be doing a watch along on my other channel, Conor McGilligan. If you guys are interested, I'll whack it in here just so you've got a link. Oh, will I? Hold on a sec. Just so you've got a link. So I know you guys will be thinking, where the bloody hell is it, mate? Hold on. Where am I? So I've not scheduled it yet, but I will go on to schedule it now. So subscribe to the channel, otherwise you won't get an update. But yeah, I'll just prang it in here. Hold on a sec. We did one last night. So there it is. Rightio, guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you on the other side, I'm sure. But yeah, see you tonight if you just want a little bit of extra content. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Keep calm and let's carry on. See you in a bit. Cheers.